Did we have a copy and paste of a former rhythm dance? There were judging errors and so much more in this week's episode of Early Season Happenings. So let's dive into it, but don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more figure skating related content. So first things first, for those of y'all who've been following my saga with USFS and their copyright claim against my Summer Sizzler video, in the end, I'm able to keep that video up due to fair use. Though what I did learn in this process was, quote, all video shot at USFS events is owned by USFS. That is intriguing to me. Do I need to go ahead and send them the video of me complaining about an expensive sandwich at Worlds because it's now their video? Who knows, y'all? All right, victory for me, but let's dive into the big news now. So I want to be completely transparent. Because of a loss in my family, I didn't watch all of the French Masters competition. Just hard to stay focused, but watching bits and pieces of it and then preparing for this video and making this video has been a really, really nice distraction for me. And I also want to shout out to those of y'all who reached out and left me comments. Very, very sweet, very, very needed. So that is why this is under a news video as opposed to its own video, because I'm just not one of those people that's gonna like put on a charade that I watched a competition that I didn't watch the whole thing of. But let's dive into what I did watch. Well, we had the debut that we were all waiting for. Beaudry and Cizeron debuted and won at the French Masters. So this was our first real taste of what their skating looks like together. I'm incredibly intrigued to see how they're gonna look at like a stream that's high depth, like something that where we can see real well, like the Gucci of the TV screens, as opposed to like the Walmart streams. Not that there's anything wrong with stream, and in fact, I'm very grateful we got it, but just kind of curious to see what it's going to look like down the road. There were also 2 costume violations, one for the rhythm dance and the free program. So I'll be intrigued to see what that's about. So the rhythm dance wasn't as great to me because, as y'all know, those of y'all watched it, it does feel very, very similar to Cizeron's 2022 Olympic winning program of Gabby. So yeah, they're voguing instead of waacking, but it still feels like homage that like no one requested. And they did an interview afterwards, after their free dance actually. And they said that they did not feel like their performance resembled waacking. And Cizeron noted that they brought in a choreographer from Brazil, and he is like the master of voguing called arm control movement. And so to them, they did not think that this was waacking. Also, what's really interesting is there are times during their like voguing where they just kind of come to a complete stop almost, or just do 2-footed skating. And I really need to go back and watch the waacking program, because it feels like through the waacking program there was just constant movement at the same time as the waacking. So that was intriguing to me. So this was scored fairly highly. There was a loss level for Cizeron when it came to his twizzles, and he said in that same interview I noted that he had a problem with his skate, which caused him to skate cautiously. And I think I read somewhere that he felt like the screw was loose or something in the back of his skate whenever they were warming up. So for them to be able to do that with faulty equipment is a testament to kind of how strong of skaters they are at this point. So thinking about their free dance, so objectively, if I just think about their skating and remove everything to do with this pairing and what they've said in interviews about their survivor and so on, their free dance is much, much better than their rhythm dance. And I do think it has the potential to be quite competitive against the top teams. I feel that this program really highlights what's amazing about their skating skills. The only thing though that's going to stick out for them is their lifts are just okay. And I noticed that they occasionally, when they were getting out of the lifts, it was kind of an awkward transition. But I'm just imagining how this program was in person and in the future. Like, it feels like it can be very spellbinding in this packed arena. So yeah, this program really stood out. And so in that same interview I mentioned earlier, they said that this program is to the soundtrack of The Well, though their objective for this program was not to go into the theme of the movie, but the inspiration was working around water, the element, and to inform their gestures and their interpretation. Other key points of that interview, which I will link down below, is Cizeron had said he never thought he would experience competing again, and the adventure is quite unexpected, like a beautiful surprise in life. And they both also mentioned that even though it was physically difficult for them to maintain kind of the same physicality as before, they both know that they stayed in really good shape and know their bodies well to prevent any injuries. And what we learned is they're going to know soon about Laurence's naturalization process. Lopareva and Brissaud came in second place, and they were 25 points below Beaudry and Cizeron. So that's a lot. So for their rhythm dance, they nearly broke the internet because they were wearing red costumes while skating to blue, which kind of aligns with their quirkiness, though it's possible this isn't their final costumes. It still feels like though this program is a work in progress, which would explain, I think at this point there was like an 8-point difference between theirs and Cizeron and Beaudry's rhythm dance. Also, the song Blue and such a fast-paced song. And so even though they're skating pretty fast in this, it still seems like it's difficult for them to fully match the music. And so I'll be interested to see how this develops as time goes on. And so for their free dance, it felt very uncharacteristic of them. Perhaps they're playing it safe for the Olympics. It's a beautiful program, but not what we're used to seeing with this pair. And I can't help but wonder how much them playing it potentially safe is going to be a hindrance for them, because we're just all so used to including the judges a certain formula for them. They did an interview with Divine Sport, which I will link to down below. And one of the things they talked about is how with Laurence and Cizeron that they did see them in practice. So it really wasn't that big of a surprise for them to find out that they're competing again, and that they're just gonna see how it turns out. Their comeback doesn't really change anything for them, doesn't change their goals. And they noted that they do feel like the federation still supports them and that there was no like, okay, we're cutting you off. So it's a really good interview, and so I will link it so you guys can review all of it. And for the men's, Kévin Aymoz, he overcame the bad juju, the curse with Bolero, and won. He even had the same costume for his short program. He nailed all the jumps, and so that was even a quad toe, triple toe, and he did this huge triple axel. I do feel like his program, though, could be spiced up a bit because it seems like the second half is kind of more on fire, but it may be just one of these things that as it goes on, he does much better. I'm just really excited for him to have this outing. Like, I feel like he needed it compared to last year. And I think it was on Reddit where I read somewhere that he needs to think of like the Olympics as Texas. Just like, let's hope that he thinks all of his Grand Prix assignments are Texas. So we didn't get to see Adam's outings. So we were greeted with this right here that has been translated to out of respect for the preparation of our athletes in this Olympic season and following various requests, the current program is not being broadcast live. We thank you for your understanding. And so it seems like he wanted to showcase it later. He said in an interview after the short program, and I have a translated version of it, so I don't know kind of what all could be lost in translation, but what he stated was basically he felt ill, but it didn't stop him from skating, so that he felt like there was no excuse. He was surprised because he felt like he has never been so ready in August when it comes to his skating, and it's the worst he's done this program all summer long. And so he was fairly surprised, but felt like he could turn it around for the free program. However, just looking at the protocol for his free program, it looked like he fell on the quad lutz, fell on the quad flip, fell on the quad toe loop, and managed to land the rest of his jumps. And what's really sad though is you see a picture of him with his bronze medal, and he just does not look happy with himself, understandably, probably beating himself up a bit. And then he took to Instagram after the competition and said that it was a huge disappointment for him. He was so excited to start the season. He was feeling ready, and the weekend didn't go as planned. And essentially said that he is going to come back stronger and he will be back to prepare in. Then, less than 2 weeks, he's going to be going to Lombardia Trophy. And so it seemed like this, for whatever reason, was an uncharacteristic outing for him. I don't know quite the illness he was experiencing, but let's hope it doesn't kind of shake him out for the rest of the season to where it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. There was a judging error during the JGP where Waacking and Zhang, skating representing China, they did a quad twist and it was credited as a triple twist. Apparently, once scores are announced, they are final and skaters cannot appeal or protest them unless they're considered miscalculated or misentered. And it seems possibly that a referee would have to be the one to catch the error, though I'm not quite sure about that. According to Jackie Wong on X, formerly known as Twitter, they could not have invoked the rule regardless because the caller called it as a triple and did not review it. So there's no going back at that point. It doesn't seem that that would have changed his standings, but it seems to be like the principle of it. Like, I get they don't want some kind of chaos like there was at gymnastics. Not that the gymnastics Olympic chaos is the reason for this rule, but I can see where they don't want a similar situation. However, I feel like I would be fired up if that was me. Like, that would just, I don't know, that would just send me. In other news, Zingas and Kolesnik announced their programs. They're going to be skating for their rhythm dance to Poison and Something in Your Eyes. And their free dance is going to be Romeo and Juliet. So there seems to be some mixed opinions online about this. This is one of those I'm going to have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out. I think they could do a romantic program. Well, I mean, it's going to be like romantical and then they're going to like die. Anyway, I feel like they can do a romantic program really well because either they're dating or they're very good at looking like they're dating. So I think this is going to be a good avenue for them, but it's something, again, that I'm just going to have to see. So Fear and Gibson showed a behind-the-scenes look at the making of their program to Highland Scottish dancing. What made me really excited, actually, is this Instagram video is apparently making its rounds because my half-sister sent it to me, and she's not a skating fan. And that was just really awesome because that means that this is going to be kind of in the forefront of people's minds just for a little bit, but still. It looks like it's going to be a really cool program, and I think it's going to land really well if they can pull it off. Fear mentioned that the biggest challenge for her is coordinating her upper body and lower body, as the upper body must be very strong and solid while the lower body is moving at lightning speed. So I am so excited to see this. Danielle from the Team Tuberitsa did an interview where he discussed the likelihood of any of the Russian skaters being in first place after the short program is very unlikely. He said it was likely due to the scoring system. He said, for example, an athlete should score 82 points, but at the Olympics they will get 76 instead of 82 because they won't receive GOE components and most likely not even a level 4 step sequence. Most likely they will get a level 3. I believe the gist of what he's saying, keep in mind I'm reading a translated version, is that because of kind of their ranking and we're going to be skating in the warm-up, that it is unlikely that they will get in first place. That's actually probably the first time we'll see a Terry skater start out like with the first group. In other news from Canada, Robert Brody did this really awesome article for his Substack, which I will link down below so you guys can read all of the awesome information in it. And I don't want to steal his thunder. I'm just going to highlight a few bits and pieces of it. It seems that only skaters who are either invited to the Grand Prix or on the alternate list for Grand Prix were invited, although I don't know how Keegan got the invite, but that, however, just because Gabby wasn't there doesn't necessarily mean that she wouldn't be in consideration for the home spot, so for like Skate Canada. What we learned is that Roman was not surprised by Keegan's announcement. He said it felt like it was something that he would do. He wasn't surprised even a little, and that it doesn't change his plan for how he's going to go about the season. Keegan stated that he felt he needed to work on his stamina from doing multiple jumps, and that it's very unlikely that he is going to get a Grand Prix assignment at this point. He actually has to work his way down from the bottom to the top. So he has to actually qualify for nationals by going through sectionals. And so he's actually going to a domestic event in Texas. What one is that, I wonder? And so he has to meet a score of 219 for an international assignment so he can get his tech minimums. Okay, so don't quote me on this. It could be the 2025 Texas Trophy. Don't quote me on that, but this seems like the only competition it could possibly be based upon my Google search. Again, I could be wrong though, but hopefully there'll be like a stream of that so we can watch that, or at least a fan cam. Sara-Maude Dupuis apparently has a triple axel that she's landed in practice, and she intends to add it to her free skate this season. So she is going to have a chance to become the first Canadian woman to successfully land it in competition. As for Deanna and Max, so for them, they actually feel like it's better for them because they felt a lot of pressure to defend their world title last season. And according to Deanna, so I think coming from behind and having our competitors think that we're not going to be trouble this year pleases me to know. I love her because she loves to shock people. I just really adore her as a human. But anyway, I will link that article below so you guys can read the rest of it. And speaking of Deanna and Max, Skate Canada previewed their brand new short and free programs, and it looks like both programs are going to be fire, and it's going to be able to match their level of intensity much better, I feel like, than last season. And again, this was just a little snippet, but it does feel better suited for them than last year. And since recording this, I saw where Deanna and Max said that they will make history with an element never before seen in competition when they skate their short program. Is this going to be like the cutting edge? And Alyssa Liu is working on her triple Lutz triple loop combo, and she wrote on Instagram, "Why didn't anyone tell me sooner that triple Lutz triple loop is the most satisfying combo to do?" And lastly, Simone Biles is trying ice skating lessons. So are we going to see her in the 2030, almost in 2032, 2030 Olympics? All right, y'all. Sorry if this video isn't like my usual videos, and I'll catch y'all next week because there are 2 competitions to cover, the John Nicks, and I know I'm going to butcher the name to this. I apologize. So catch y'all next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more figure skating related content.